Does this mean we're getting a handheld Xbox? Is Xbox done with exclusives? Keep your eyes peeled for these games coming to your Xbox in March. What's up, guys, and welcome back to another edition of Xbox Ready, the weekend edition, where I team up with Mr. Jimmy Champagne right here, and we discuss all the pressing matters going on in the Xbox world. Guys, we're feeling pretty dang good because earlier this week, me and Jimmy here, for some reason, got invited to see
for the first.
You're
Xbox Ready.
Xbox was doing a collaboration, a partnership with Disney for the Mandalorian Season 3 premiere. So we got to see the first 2 episodes before anyone else.
Yeah.
And
John Favreau was like, "Can you guys keep a secret for one day?" And everyone was like, "Yeah." And then he's like, "Can you keep a secret for a week?" And I was
we were like,
"Yes." Because it was like the first episode is like 30 minutes. And I was like, that's kind of weird. I feel like they should show 2. It was like when you're at a concert and then you like say one more song and then they make you think they're not going to come back, but then he came back, baby, and it was awesome. I enjoyed the first 2 episodes. We got to see early the special edition Xbox Series X and S consoles, the Grogu controller. All that was really fun. But now we got to get back to business. Now we got to get back to actually working. First of all, we got to talk about some PlayStation exclusives making their way over to Xbox this month. Pretty interesting. So first up, 2 of them.
Keep your eye out for Sifu, because we got a firm release date on that coming March 28th to Xbox consoles.
Yeah.
This was a fighting game that released early 2022 on the PlayStation 5. It's a roguelike, and every time you die, you age a little bit, but you get like more
get stronger.
fighting wisdom, and you get stronger. Yeah.
But you lose health.
Yeah, because you're not as young and spry anymore.
Yeah, but you have stronger hits.
Yeah,
I played this game on PC because you could mod in the Batman, like Robert Pattinson Batman. It was so cool. There's like a video of it on YouTube, but like the music matches up with the club scene from the Batman. I mean, the game came out around the same time.
Lots of comparisons to like John Wick and stuff like that. And it's also coming with new content when it launches on the other platforms. They say with 9 new locations and 45 merciless challenges spread over 5 game modes, the Arenas expansion is packing up to 10 extra hours of gameplay into the already demanding title. But also, another thing to keep an eye out for, these former PlayStation exclusive titles making their way over to Xbox, Ghostwire Tokyo should be coming out to not only Xbox, but Game Pass.
Because of Hi-Fi Rush, it's Tango Gameworks' last game. The story is like 20 hours-ish, 12 to 20 hours. The story is really good, and the world is really good. Like, it feels like the most realistic Tokyo ever in a game, because that's what the goal was.
I feel like there's a but coming.
I wouldn't like 100% this game. Just do enough side stuff until you're satisfied with it, and then kind of beeline through the story, because I think doing everything takes it from like 20 hours to 70 hours. If you look at the map, there are so many collectibles in this game. They don't really do much, but it's really cool.
A weird kind of exchange of former exclusives between the 2 platforms, because we also got Minecraft Legends coming up, gonna release on PlayStation 5 obviously, and then Dungeons is on PS Plus. We live in interesting times, ladies and gentlemen. So previously on Xbox Ready, we talked about this 10-year deal that Microsoft has signed with Nintendo to bring Call of Duty titles over to their platform. It's part of their effort to be like, no, we're not gonna make it exclusive, we're gonna try to expand it to other platforms actually. So please, pretty please, I'm begging you on my knees, approve this deal. But it's kind of got me thinking, because when that happened, of course, the focus was on Call of Duty. I'm trying to think beyond like what other possibilities that could open up. Like, could we see Nintendo stuff coming to Xbox, or like Xbox stuff coming to Nintendo? And I saw this article by Game Rant. It was an opinion piece about Game Pass with Nintendo Switch could be killer, especially like with the rise of the Steam Deck. You can't have Game Pass natively on the Steam Deck because it runs Linux.
They refuse to put the app on there. The only reason I think Nintendo wouldn't do it is the same reason Sony wouldn't, right? Like, they would want you to just buy those games individually versus subscribing to the service. But at the very least, they would try to make it so that you would have to pay for your Game Pass subscription through the Nintendo store or through the Sony store, so they get a cut. Because if I was able to go to xbox.com, then log into it on my PS5, there's no exchange of money for Sony there. So like, what incentive would they have? Same with Nintendo.
Here's, I guess, kind of my first initial thoughts about it, is that first, it would kind of open up the door to an Xbox handheld. First of all, it's like, okay, like they're not doing first party options themselves. We've kind of seen these pop-ups of like cloud gaming only dedicated handheld devices that aren't really catching on the same way the Steam Deck is. And if you could have Game Pass on a Nintendo Switch, it could potentially drive people who are interested in handheld Xbox to go and buy Switch hardware specifically for Game Pass. And I wonder if that is incentive enough for them. Probably not, like you're saying.
I
But
feel like
also,
everyone who has an Xbox already has a Switch too. So
Yeah.
like, they'll just be like, boom, boom, boom. I'm playing my Xbox games on my Switch.
yeah, there has to be some sort of incentive for Nintendo. But at the same time, Switch Online's offerings is like, I wouldn't say they're comparable at all when you compare them to Game Pass, right? It's like,
Yeah,
you
people
get the
love to
online
go to bat for this like classic game service, and I'm like, I would rather just buy the games. Like, let me buy the individual games I want instead of like making me pay, what is it, like $60 a year now, 50-60 bucks a year to get a bunch of games that I don't really want.
I don't think you can't play them natively, right? It's all through like streaming or emulation, right?
No, you
Like,
play
if
them natively.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's like the old 64, Super Nintendo, old Game Boy games.
Yeah,
and
Game
stuff
Boy
on that.
Advance was what I was waiting for. And honestly, like with the Steam Deck, I'm just gonna be real, too little too late there, Nintendo. The emulation of Game Boy Advance games on Steam Deck is like flawless. It's so cool.
Like for me personally, I think it would be a little bit smoother trying to put Game Pass on Nintendo or Switch or whatever,
Yeah.
versus trying to put it on PlayStation, because PS Plus with their extra and premium tiers and stuff, now it's looking pretty similar to
Game
Game
Pass,
Pass.
yeah.
It's looking pretty comparable, and Switch Online and Game Pass, not so much. I feel
and
like
Sony
they're
doesn't
different enough.
want those games, right? Like Sony is like, you can put those games on PlayStation and we will take 30% of every sale.
Yeah, I'm excited to see like better relations between Xbox and Nintendo. I think it could be really beneficial for them both in the long run. But in the meantime, the CMA, the regulatory body examining this acquisition of Activision Blizzard
Country Music
in
Awards?
the UK, the Country Music Awards, they're pissed. They've had enough.
Heart like
No.
a truck.
They're apparently not impressed by this Nintendo 10-year deal, because they're like, there's no way they get Call of Duty to run natively on a Nintendo Switch.
That's pretty
So this deal is
reasonable.
meaningless. Yes, I get it, because like Nintendo has trouble even running some of their first-party titles,
Right.
like Pokemon games. But at the same time, we've heard some pretty interesting things regarding this. Like, we've talked to some interesting people at Xbox. I asked one of them straight out. I was like, okay, this Call of Duty on Nintendo, and this is when they were first talking about bringing Call of Duty to Switch, before the contract, all that. I was like, you're trying to bring it over via streaming on Nintendo Switch consoles. And they were like, no, we're going native, baby, we're going native. And I was like, okay, interesting.
I doubt that significantly based on how poorly optimized Modern Warfare 2 is. That game runs like hot garbage on everything.
There's some interesting things that, you know, Apex Legends runs on the Switch, right?
Does it?
And
Our editor
Fortnite-
Royce played it on Switch with his friend.
and it's not
After he sold his
great.
consoles, and he was like, I had to stop playing.
can't.
It's like, it's unplayable. I actually did a video with Austin Evans when this came out on Switch. We tried it on the like 85-inch TV he had in his old studio. It was like unplayable. It's like horrible. It's so bad. They should have never put that on Switch. And that game, like, pretty easy to run. Like, my PC runs it fine. The Steam Deck runs it at, I think, like a flawless 60 with no upscaler.
Flawless 60. But here's the thing, though. Switch is at the end of its life cycle. There's already rumors of a new Switch or new Nintendo product.
Big 4chan
coming out.
leak. There's a big 4chan leak where a guy accurately predicted everything that was going to be in this last Pokemon Presents. And then he was like, also, the Switch 2 is coming by the end of the year. It's a hardware jump. And it's like, kind of trust it.
I'm like, oh, shoot. Like, so we've been hearing rumors even before this leak of like Switch 2. So maybe like they're not necessarily wanting to bring it to Switch consoles as we know them now, but maybe the next iteration of Switch could
Yeah.
be capable of running these Call of Duty games. And at the same time, it's like, it kind of feels like the CMA has made up its mind already. It's like, they're like, well, we think you're going to make this exclusive to Xbox consoles. And they're like, well, we made these deals to bring it to other platforms. And they're like,
Yeah.
nah.
I saw a news story this morning that Xbox basically said they would hire a person that is like a third-party person that Microsoft pays to like make sure they keep everything on the up and up. Like they stick to what they said, like the ESRB basically.
Like there's some sort of watchdog peering over
Yeah, like,
Microsoft's shoulders.
They'll have like a boss. They'll be like, hey, better make sure keep that on Nintendo Switch and PlayStation.
I
no
wonder
exclusive skins.
how much is their oversight.
Yeah.
Is my question.
The thing that got me really thinking about this, about what the goal is here, it's just to make Xbox generate revenue, because like that rumor that was going around that Xbox would be spun off or sold if this doesn't go through. I was like, why would they even do that? And I was like, oh, it's because Xbox doesn't generate a lot of like actual profit. But if they had Call of Duty, right, that's guaranteed profit every year as long as they live up to the like mediocre standard that Activision already adheres to with that series.
Yeah, that's where the bulk of their money comes from. Not hardware sales, not like, because that race is already lost, I feel. We've heard news that PlayStation 5s are already at 30 million. Xbox Series X and S consoles not even at 20. So it's like that is already done. So yeah, and whatever they can do to boost the actual game's catalog, the IPs, and the revenue generated, yeah, that totally makes sense to me. And speaking of a watchdog, speaking of Xbox keeping their word and stuff, Phil Spencer has, at this point, I was going to say triple down, but at this point it's like quintuple down or something, because I feel like he said this in a million ways already.
This dude.
But yeah, Phil Spencer recently was interviewed by the team at Xbox On, and he had some interesting things to say. He says, when we say available everywhere and not exclusive, we want to make absolutely the best version of Call of Duty for any player on any of those platforms. I sit here today with a great game that came out in the last couple of weeks, Hogwarts Legacy, and yes, there is a quest that's available on PlayStation. It's not available on Xbox.
It's the best quest of the game.
I know this is part of the industry. That's not the game we're trying to play here either. It's not about skin on a gun, certain kind of game mode, blah, 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 blah. We're not trying to do like specific content locked to Xbox when it comes to Call of Duty. We're not trying to make it run better on Xbox. I think, like we were just talking about, that could be a tall order. It's like optimizing this game so everyone gets the best experiences on Switch, Xbox Series X, Xbox Series S, PlayStation 5, GeForce Now, like all of these different servers. I think it's already kind of difficult as it is with people saying like, oh, like we can't get this to run on the Series S, like we're having trouble,
they
like
can't
we're
even
like
get PC games to work right. They make Windows and their PC releases are terrible time and time again, except for Gears 5. Gears 5 runs excellently.
But all of this talk about like exclusives, we're not going to do it. We're not. I know it's hyper focused on Call of Duty right now, but it makes me wonder how they're going to handle other exclusives and other acquisitions going forward after they've just made the show about like, oh, we want to bring the same experience to everyone. Okay, so is every acquisition that you do after this, is that going to be the MO? Or it's been kind of inconsistent, I would say. You know, they bought Mojang. They kept it multi-platform because they were like, duh, we can make a way more freaking money off of this if we keep it multi-platform rather than make it exclusive. Bought Bethesda.
Yeah,
all the Bethesda stuff is exclusive. And then with Activision, they're like, no, like we're not going to make anything exclusive. So I'm wondering like, what is the policy here? And what's the game plan? I know they're saying all of this stuff because they just want to get the deal approved, right?
Yeah, I think their play with Bethesda was to like get people to sub to Game Pass, right? They're like, okay, we'll sink this much money into like something like Redfall, which it's like getting a lot of marketing, I guess, but it's not really like a huge budget game. And they're like, that'll bolster Game Pass, right? Same with Obsidian and stuff like Grounded and the Outer Worlds. But then with something like Activision, they're just like pure profit, baby. And then they can use that. They're basically trying to be like Sony, like have a big game that can constantly generate income that they can then spend on other games, get people to sub to Game Pass.
Success begets success.
Yeah.
So the money that they make off of Call of Duty or King Games in a given year could be funneled back into making really cool first party stuff.
Yeah,
that makes sense to me.
That'd be cool. I mean, I don't know. I don't really care. Like, they're gonna keep Call of Duty on everything. That's great. The funniest thing about this to me is that Crash Bandicoot and Spyro are gonna become Xbox mascots. That's super goofy, but like, I don't know. I think that's funny.
It's already
they could like make something funny out of that. They could do like a short film where Crash gets fired from Sony and he gets a job at Microsoft.
And you hear like the Halo music or something. He's like being escorted in a warthog to freaking Microsoft headquarters.
And Xbox usually like does pretty good marketing, I think.
When was the last time you saw an Xbox commercial? Like on TV, on
There was
Hulu,
that really
or
good
anything?
one where the disabled kid got the adaptive controller.
That was cool.
Christmas.
That was like the last one I've seen, but it's been a while since I've seen that. The Xbox mascots are getting so funny because it's like Marcus Phoenix,
the PS2 graphics vampire from Redfall.
Yeah, and then like Rasputin Aquato from Psychonauts. I'm like, wait, what?
No, the best is when they do those splash screens that are like the big background with all the stuff you just mentioned, and then there's just like a McLaren in there for Forza.
Or a plane for Microsoft Flight Simulator. I'm like,
just like a Boeing.
Next time they should put a face on the plane or like a car.
Yeah.
Something like it's Lightning McQueen or something.
They get the guy from Wolong.
The guy from Wolong.
Is Wolong the main character in Wolong?
You are a nameless soldier that you can create in the character creation. Your main personality trait is that you just agree to everything that people say. They're like, hey, can you go to this battlefield and help lift the siege? You're like, And then they're like, oh, can you escort my sister to like this mountaintop? Oh, can you back up my friends over at this battlefield? You just like nod and agree to everything.
I got a code for this game. I haven't had time to play it. Staring disappointedly at my screen playing Lightfall, but I will check it out.
I think you will actually like it.